AM 560, The Answer. If we want to preserve our constitutional republic, we need an informed and educated citizenry. And that's what this show is all about. Find out what's really happening. It's time to stop the lies and learn the truth. This is The Real Story with your host, Jeanne Ives.
Okay. Gary, welcome to the program. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Hey, thank you, Jeannie. It's great being here with you.
Yeah, so what about that Trump verdict? You've been down to Mar-a-Lago. I'm sure you've met the man. What's your impression of what's going on, and what will be the response by the electorate in November?
Well, I think it all depends on what goes on here. We have some weak people on our side, unfortunately, that I think may not come out to vote. I'm hoping that we gain many more that don't usually vote, that don't usually vote our way even. I think this is a political prosecution. When you think about how they're treating this president below the law, right? They're all saying, nobody's above the law. They're treating him below the law. Here's a prosecutor, as you know, Jeannie, is a Soros-backed prosecutor, much like our Kim Foxx. Okay, mm-hmm. These people don't prosecute violent criminals, right? And they don't prosecute criminals at all. And yet they're going to prosecute somebody for falsification of documents and records. Okay, and I don't know if you know this, but I read up on this a little bit. Mm-hmm. But in New York, it's one of the only cities where it could be a felony at all. But it's only a felony even in New York if it was found that they used it to cover up a crime. Right? Where's the crime here? Where's the crime? There's no crime here. This is crazy. And what happened was what I learned as I listened more is basically this not just the prosecutor, helped shape the jury's minds. The judge did. The judge isn't supposed to shape it, but you can read over and over. The judge helped really shape the minds of this jury to believe that it was a scheme to defraud the American people. Okay, that was the cover-up. So again, this is totally crazy. What does Biden have in common with these names right now? Stalin, Mussolini, Hitler, Mao, and Castro.
Oh yeah,
I mean, we all know, right?
Yeah, we do.
They all basically went after their opponents, right? Their political opponents, and basically had them tried. Right? This is a terrible thing in American history. And if we as God-loving, American-loving people don't get behind this and go after this craziness, we're going to lose our great country.
Well, I wrote on my Twitter feed. I know everybody's following me, aren't you? It's at Jeanne Ives. Oh, how clever is that one? Okay, easy to follow. But I wrote this, and actually I got quite a few reposts for me. Yeah, whatever. I said, corrupt verdicts like this one are masterminded by people like Obama, who learned from the most corrupt politicians in Illinois and leveled it up. He's been after Trump since 2016. If you live in Illinois, you know this and should well understand how this verdict happened. And you should know they will come after anyone who challenges their power. I mean, Illinoisans shouldn't be surprised, right? Right, Gary?
Jeannie, I know I talked about this a little bit on my campaign, not a lot,
okay.
A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But the crazy mayor of Chicago filed a lawsuit against me, and that I fought while I was running for governor, and it never went to trial. It got thrown out eventually, but it cost me over $1 million.
What?
It was a bogus lawsuit that a contract I did at O'Hare Airport with my roofing company. It was 3 years. We worked for 7 years at the airport doing roof maintenance, and this contract was we weren't doing it anymore. It was over 3 years before that we finished that contract. She sued me saying that that one of the line items we did wrong. Okay. There was no evidence. There's nobody that ever claimed this, right? They look at invoices every month, right? So they had the ability to challenge them always, and they did once in a while. And this never came up. She just pulled out a line item and sued me for $6 to $7 million. It cost me over $1 million. That's an example of what they do in Chicago and Illinois. And by the way, my businesses at the time, I had 14 businesses, were audited more than ever before over a 3-year period, twice by the state and once by the federal government. And that cost me a ton as well, right? So this is what they do in Illinois, and this is where Obama and this whole regime today,
right.
The Soros regime, this is where they do their dirty work.
Absolutely. This is Obama's hands all over it. Nobody believes Biden is in charge, and Obama has not liked Trump from the get-go. I mean, this is, I don't know. Illinois, you know, we're going to talk about Illinois. We're going to take a short break here, Gary. We're going to keep you on because I want to talk about the property that you just sold in Schaumburg. We're going to get into that a little bit, along with the downtown office vacancy in tops 25%. You know, this is a record again, another record vacancy in Chicago. It's imploding, and it's because they're doing things like they did to you. These people are the worst politicians, and you know what? They're the ones running the White House right now because it's certainly not Biden. Okay, we'll be right back after this with more from Gary Rabine.
You're listening to The Real Story with your host, Jeanne Ives.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for joining me tonight. It is The Real Story with Jeanne Ives, and if you want to weigh in on the conversation, 312-642-5600 is the phone number here. I welcome callers. And still with me is Gary Rabine. He is the owner and the founder and the guy who built it from almost nothing, Rabine Paving, but he owns a number of other businesses as well. And Gary, I've been to your office building in Schaumburg. It's sweet. It's a really nice office building. And you've told me quite a few stories about how year after year you had to essentially hire a lawyer to try and lower your property taxes. You get it lawyered. You get them lowered. They take their cut. You get a little reprieve. Then the next year, you do the same thing over and over and over again. This is exactly how Mike Madigan and Ed Burke made their money year after year after year. It's a totally incredibly awful system. And now you find yourself selling it for essentially a fraction of what it should be worth.
Yeah, and this is the problem we have in Illinois. We're losing great businesses, great companies, great building owners to other states. And we did build our business from nothing. $2,000 investment in 1981, seal coating driveways and patching driveways in the North Shore, right? That's where we started. And today we're the largest privately held commercial paving company in America. And we pave parking lots all over America, right? And we do other stuff, doors and docks, mechanical. We have a tech company. And we just have a lot of fun building businesses. And this is a place I envisioned always building my businesses from, but it's not anymore. I mean, we're always going to have some companies here, but companies we build and grow are going to be somewhere else most likely. And this is an example that, you know, our building in Schaumburg, Illinois is a building that would cost $40 million to build today. On the low end, $40 million. It was a Class A, you know, granite and glass building. It's maintained impeccably. It's got a new roof, new parking lot, solar roof. It's a green building, all the things you can imagine in a commercial building. The building, $40 million building, I just sold. We just closed last Friday. Perfect timing because I probably couldn't talk to you about this before this, but just closed Friday for $1.7 million. Think about that, $40 million building sold for $1.7 million. So think about that, about just over 4% of the construction value it sold for. And here's why, Jeanne. That people say, oh, it's just the way it is now with this new this new work environment. Everybody's working from home, so you got to expect that, Rabine. Okay, this is what people that don't understand this stuff tell me. But guess what? My friend in Indianapolis, the marketplace just outside of Indianapolis, and in Carmel, sold his building much like mine, but smaller, 80,000 square foot, not 100,000 square foot, for $24 million. Okay, an older building than mine, and he has the same occupancy problems that we have. He sold it for $24 million, 80,000 square foot. So at that rate, mine should have sold for 28 or so, right? Okay. Instead, it sold for less than $2 million. The building, Jeanne,
yes.
my friend's building in Indianapolis, they pay 2% property tax, and that's the average of commercial property tax.
That's because
it's
capped. It's capped at 2%. Commercial's capped at 2%. Residential's capped at 1%. This is a joke. This state is a joke.
Good states, that's the case because that's the average of the country. And if you want people to have value in real estate, right, you want to keep it about average or lower. You know, Florida's the average in both cases. Mm-hmm. Indiana is. Okay, so 2%, I would be paying, about $34,000 a year on that building, right? At 2% at $1.7 million, I sold it for. They had it assessed at about $10 million. I was approaching $1 million a year in property tax. $1 million for a building worth $1.7 million. So it just becomes ridiculous to keep a building anymore when you have $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 more going out than what you're taking in with good tenants, actually, right? With good tenants, I was under by $400,000 or $500,000 a year. So what happens now, Jeanne, is the new person comes in. they have to get the value down to 1.7 million that they bought it for, and Cook County will fight them, but they'll get it down to that if they fight hard. And so their taxes will come out at $170,000, 10% of the value, not 2%, 10% of the value on the minimum, in my opinion. So they'll pay $170,000 for the first year until their assessment comes out next year at $5 million instead of the 1.7 they paid for it. So now they're going to be fighting a tax that's going to be 250, 350, 450, whatever. It's going to go back up to what it is now, because these son of a guns don't know how to do anything else but tax. And this is led by Taxker, JB Taxker, right? And this crazy assessor that we have is my opinion, a socialist. So bottom line, and by the way, I sold a building in Chicago, Jeannie. I have an industrial park. Actually, your husband's company was there for some time. They still are, I think. The company your husband worked for it still rents in that building. The building in Chicago in any other market would have been a $25 million building. It sold for $2.4 million.
Oh my gosh!
And it'd be $25 million anywhere else. This is 2.5 acres in the city of Chicago.
Well, this is actually the biggest crisis that's going to come to hit. It's going to be commercial property that is going to land, basically put these lenders in a trick box, and that is going to be the next economic downturn is from the commercial property. This is from Cranes. Cranes says downtown office vacancy tops 25%. They said downtown office landlords went into 2024 looking for good news from expected interest rate cuts and companies getting far more employees back to in-person work. So far, they've been disappointed. After the second worst quarter of demand in at least 16 years, the downtown office vacancy rate increased to 25.1% at the end of March from 23.8% at the beginning of the year, according to data from CBRE. It's the first time the share of available office space downtown has topped 25%. Of course, this is a new record. I mean, this is exactly what's going on. You can't make it up. But Gary, what have you been doing with your businesses? How are you? I mean, I don't know. Have you personally moved out of the state? Are you moving businesses out of the state? Because when we look at it, there's a number of businesses. Quaker Oats just closed in Danville, one of the area's largest employers. A fixture in the region for 55 years just closed. A guy named Jacob Lane wrote this op-ed in Center Square all about it. And of course, the Danville alderman wants to blame Quaker's shareholder profits. Mike Marin, president and CEO of Vermilion Advantage, wants to blame PepsiCo, questioning the company's motives. But the truth is, we have the second highest corporate tax rates at 9.5%. Our worker compensation costs are incredibly expensive. We're dead last in the Midwest for competitiveness in that. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, and they've done nothing to change the business climate here.
So JB Taxker, I've just come up with his name, Taxker. He's a tax pro, right?
Yes.
He taxes and spends like nobody else in the country, and he brags that he's working within the budget, and he's totally full of it, right? The bottom line is, right, he brags about the tech market in Chicago, and we've got a great tech company that started in Chicago, and it's dominating a space that we're growing in. So we do. We basically assess the condition of real estate, big buildings all over the world now. And we use artificial intelligence and machine learning to assess the condition of pavements and roofs and facades faster than anybody in the world. And we're doing it with amazing technology, right? The business, we started 7 years ago in the city of Chicago because we wanted to find talent there. And we did, okay? Then you couldn't find people outside the city that are computer scientists, PhDs in engineering that we could find in the city. Well, guess what? Now they're asking. These people would never think of being out of the city. Now they're asking, is there somewhere else we can go? Is there somewhere can we work out of the Schaumburg office or somewhere else? And we're staying in Schaumburg, by the way. Many of our business, we have 15 companies, and some of our best companies have chose to leave. We're still going to have many businesses in Illinois, but we're not choosing to grow in Illinois. We're not choosing to start new businesses in Illinois. We're staying in Illinois with some of our businesses because our teammates their families are here. Right. But overall, like this tech company, they want to leave because they can't stand the lack of safety in the city of Chicago anymore. They can't stand the taxes, the tax raising of their properties in the city. So we've had a bunch of teammates that want to move to Florida. We got an office in Florida for that company. And what happens again, when JB brags about the technology boom in Chicago and all these great companies, and he's right. Great companies do start in Illinois and Chicago, but they leave as soon as they're profitable. And you'll see that over and over again. Companies where the technology is successful end up leaving and going somewhere else, to Nashville, to Miami, other places other than Illinois once they're profitable, which is not what we want. We want them to stay here when they're profitable,
right,
to build these businesses here. But they're not going to, as long as we're stupid and we overtax. So, when you ran and I ran, what did we talk about? We talked about getting the taxes down to the average of the country. And if you just get to the average of the country in our taxes, we would boom in Illinois. Instead, that's not the case. These people think you can tax more and people are going to stay. And they're when they look at the population not going very much, right? It's because they're illegal aliens are flooding in while good big taxpayers are moving out.
Hey, Gary, we got to leave it right there. I'm out of time. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Gary Rabine Paving, great guy, great American, great patriot, and we'll talk to him again soon.